I wish it worse.
Good luck, folks. All right, folks. Hello. Welcome to the Tournament Preparation League, Season 1, Race number 2. We've got a heck of a race today for you. Today's night, wherever you are. So I'm Scythe Marshall. In the booth with me is a whole bunch of people. On Restream, we have Aaron Lore. Thank you for your service. On tracking, we have Scarcerer. And then also in the booth, we have our two racers today, Judge Joe and Fiery Blizzard. Fiery, how's it going? Say hi.
Hey, it's going well. I just remembered that the race room actually existed and I had to ready. Turns out,
shoot.
Yeah, tournament matches you actually have to ready in the race room before it can start.
Yes, that is very important. Good to remember that's a thing. And Judge Joe, say hello.
Hello.
All right. So, very quickly before we begin, today's flag set is a mage or problem. The whole point of the flag set is to get you accustomed to using mages to beat some bosses that are kind of awful, especially for mages. So, flags are in the chat. You can see them there. We'll get started shortly. Before we do, or as we're getting going, how many foos are we going to have before 45 minutes?
Hopefully 0, but probably 1.
Or it'll be the async if we get 2.
Yeah, I'm guessing 2. But anyway, here we go. Let's see.
Pour 'em, pour 'em, pour 'em.
Let's see how things go.
No! Aw.
Uh oh.
All right, so the important thing here is to type in the race room refund.
Dot refund. All right, so we have Fu Soya. The Fu is very strong. What? Okay, so we could have not had Fu Soya, but we have Fu Soya. So, if both of you would like to tell me a little bit about what this does to your routing, I'd like to hear it. Maybe Joe, start with you.
It completely changes it. With no Fu, my primary goal is to just get a little bit of power, ensure I can get through one boss, and then hopefully get Callum's tier 2 elementals and power through with that. If I get a Porum start, or if I get a Porum to go with, Twin is very, very good at that. But with Fu, I'm focused on powering him up rather than Palom.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I was hoping for there still be a Porum on Hobbs, but it turns out Fu already has Lit 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so this is a very high power start. Fu with Lit 2 demolishes most of the overworld. We'll see how our runners fare. Like, it's gonna be zoom for most of it. We see Fiery going straight to Hobbs. Very funny character here, but also a pretty useful boss. Well, sort of, anyways. It does give Fu some spells. Nothing too overpowered, though. We are possibly having connection issues with Judge Joe's stream. It was great until right before. But now we're good, I guess.
As it always is.
I think one
Hate
of
to
the
see
things
it,
here
but
is
we'll work through it.
Fu's so fast as well, just putting him in slot 1, getting that extra actions in.
Yeah, Fu is 20 agility always, and on the overworld, that is very fast, except against the Waterfall Cave boss. So you really amp up your turn economy by having everyone else slower.
And then Telezair on Hobbs is to provide exit casts, which is always very nice.
Always nice to get an early exit caster. In cases where you're looting a little more, the exit can help speed up the loot just that extra 20 seconds, 30 seconds each time, and that can just build up throughout the early game. In this case, with the Fu, the most thing you need loot for is buying ethers and elixirs, that sort of thing.
Preparing for that Fu and Friends possibility. I mean, that's always on the table when you have a Fu. It's like, how fast, in this case, how fast can you find your bosses?
Yep.
Yeah, and having an exit caster just makes it so much easier to get out of places. For me, I sometimes don't emphasize Antlion Cave very much, because if I don't have an exit caster, because it's like another 30 seconds to walk all the way out. But with exit, you're like, oh, well, I'll just do it and then exit out if it's worth keeping, and then we're good.
One other thing to keep in mind, especially with the Fu start, and with this being Force Hook route, so Fu's going to be our primary damage for quite some time, most likely. However, his speed doesn't go up, so we kind of need to go and find a character or a curse ring, so we can keep someone slow enough for him to be as fast as he possibly can.
Yeah, so we're in terms of characters that are helpful for making Fu Soya relative agility 1. Porum at base level is perfect for that. Rydia at base level works as well with 4 agility. Every other character is a little bit too fast unless you can find a ninja hat or a crystal ring or something like that.
Yep.
So Fiery going to Troya, doing some shopping, checking the free key item. It's a useful one.
A little bit. But no,
Yes.
I mean, just checking the item shops, hoping to see a Soma drop. If not, Ethers always work as well.
True, Soma drops are something to keep in mind. Very useful. There's so many shops, though, I sometimes don't go out of my way to find them. But definitely turning that 3 nukes into 4 is big gain in resource management.
Yeah, just it's amazing how much 10 extra MP helps. But so this spot is kind of awful, Fiery. Actually, I think you're both here.
Yeah, I could have Star-Veiled this. I'm hoping that it does enough damage.
I'm also doing the same.
I think with 2 food casts and supplementary pound damage, I think this is good.
Since I think it's been a little bit since I saved, I'm just trying to get as many little bits and pieces as possible, because
I think
otherwise...
that rage may have actually been important.
Did your stream still cutting? Rage?
Your stream's still cutting in and out, Judge Joe. Did you get through Plague?
I did.
Oh, good.
The other thing about this flag set, though, is because we have no melee, means we can sell most of the things we end up getting, because they're not going to be important. We can't actually use them.
Edge's multitude of weapons are very good sources of money, at least Ninja Plus.
Yeah,
as well.
And sometimes you want to keep things like bows just in case you need to use Rosa in a melee capacity. But for the most part, all of this heavy armor, all of the melee weapons, just chuck it. It's really interesting because that's something that's a lot harder to do in a flag set where you have more characters, but realistically, even on seeds where you have more character options, it's possible that you sort of start with, like, you do some looting and then you just keep all this loot because you're like, I might use it. But it's really important sometimes to be aware of when you should just sell your stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I come from Final Fantasy V, where the inventory space doesn't matter, and then I'll watch Martin or Pankraz, and they'll be like, yeah, we'll just sell everything. And it's just like, I mentally have trouble with that. So it's something I'm, trying to get better at, but it's hard to break that sort of habit of just being like, I may use this, I may not.
I do see a note in chat from our tracker. Yang is a mage. Yang is a punch mage. The reason we call Yang a punch mage is because his damage and his usefulness effectively scale with levels. Most of the mages are not really amazing until you get them to nuke and white, except for Fusoya, of course. All right, so here we have a little bit of divergence, which is good to see. We'll see how our runners tackle some of these bosses.
That was me forgetting that I have a Fu and I should actually fight those bosses.
Yeah, that's... I think, yeah, so right now, Judge Show has an extra boss on Fiery because, Ashura in Mist Cave is not particularly challenging.
That's bad.
Uh-oh. Whoa, interesting. Oh, Paul, I want to see the gamble. We didn't quite get it. Okay, so we have some pretty funny scenarios on screen right now. One of the scenarios is a situation where the boss is not like Fu is not very effective against this boss right now. The other scenario is, let's say there's a comedian.
Oh dear. Yeah, that is. I have to come back later or start looting more.
I was afraid of how slow this was.
Yeah, so Judge Joe would like some arrows. Does not currently have arrows. Fiery is anchored. Okay, so this spot is very slow, but Fu has 20 agility and is the anchor right now. And so we're gonna sit here and sort of suffer through some poison damage. But after should be fine.
Yeah, I just needed to make sure Palom actually got healed of poison. So. And if we're lucky enough, he'll actually target Palom on this and not Fu. The comedy man being weak to fire. It's always nice.
Yep.
Fire 2 ends up being better than anything Fu can throw out because of that. Fu started with a Lilith rod. What did Palom start with?
An ice rod.
But you can probably throw an elven bow on him, I guess.
If you loot or find one for sale.
I think I have a samurai bow somewhere in my inventory and an elven bow.
I think you both have Sammy bows, but maybe no arrows.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything in the arrow department.
Now have arrows.
Aha.
But yep, time for comedy.
Yeah, so right now our both of our runners, although we can't exactly see much of Judge Joe's stream, that's fine. Our runners are basically saying, okay, Fu is our power, right? We need to get Fu online, get him some spells. And so, like, while you could sort of rush some of the things like going down the hook route, or you could go to Castle Eblin and try to get some gear, things like that. Really what you want to do is bosses. And so our runners are trying to beat as many bosses as possible to get some spells on Fusoya. I think Fire is very happy about that particular set of spells.
It doesn't hurt. Actually, there's I'm pretty sure I learned to white before this.
Well. White's pretty good too.
Oh. Unfortunate.
I like how I'm just going to continue to delay the inevitable here.
No. I know this happened for Judge Joe about 7 seconds ago, but goodbye, Palom.
Yeah, he did his job. I mean, if he did his job a second time, that'd have been great, but...
All right, so both of our runners are through
Oh,
Golbez
thank you.
at Baron in 2. So now they both have Porum, another one of our happy-go-lucky mages. Porum's really nice because she's our first focused white mage. Primarily Fusoya we're using as just blast things with spells. So Porum hopefully is I don't know if we'll keep her in the party forever, but we'll see.
Currently Porum is slotted to stay permanently in my party. She is also slotted to stay permanently in level 10.
All right, so this is actually a good question, and it came up in the async. Why is Anchor Porum, or why do you plan on keeping Porum down the whole time instead of possibly coming back and getting a different Porum later?
So early game it doesn't matter at the moment, but once I get to the mid game, especially with the Feymarch and Moon bosses, I really need to be able to get my actions to cycle out as much as possible. With 20 agility being all I've got, that means I need 7 or less agility on someone to get Fu just maximum speed. Bosses will also be maximum speed, but I'm usually able to get a bit more out of my actions than the bosses are.
Right, and so you're willing to take the extra time and effort to keep Porum down through every single experience-giving fight.
Yep. Curse Ring allows you to just not do that, but until then, you know what?
Meanwhile, I know I can just switch out Anchor as well before that becomes a necessity, so...
Right, so there's sort of two different ways you could play it, depending on your gear situation and how you think things are going to work out in the end.
Yep. Another thing you can do with keeping Porum down, it's a little more relevant with Rydia, but it is always setting up for a potential slingshot of some sort.
Yeah, as much as you want to do that with a Fu start,
It's not something I tend to find myself doing, but when it happens, it happens.
All right, so Mount Ordeals was the mountain of moon sparkles.
Thought it was.
Unfortunately for Wyvern, it's not a particularly fast spot, and so Fu just cast Virus and we're through. I assume Judge Joe is about to do that.
There's a Wyvern on my screen right now.
Yep, there you go, and Virus, and now it's fading away.
As long as you don't overplink to overplink over black, which is what happened originally there.
Oh yeah, the blink to region would have maybe not been good.
Would have been
That's
great.
where you scramble and put up a veil with whoever's next and hope.
Well, I did catch myself before I confirmed regen, but yeah. Because it is Mega Nuke. It is not Witchburn.
If you could take a pass at the upstairs.
But hey, we got an objective.
Yeah, so that's our first objective of this seed. Maybe you should talk a little bit about the objectives. We have 8 boss hunts. We need 7 of them. But we also have Force Hook. So with our current selection of key items, we're not going to go play around on the moon quite yet. So not only the boss hunts sort of synergize well with Fusoya because you really want to pound out the boss checks. And so here we are doing boss checks with Fu. Fu becomes more powerful, and we cross off locations that we need to check for objectives.
would say that was worth it.
I'd say that was much better than in the async.
Yeah, just a little. All the money I could ever want in the actual mage gear.
So Judge Joe, looking at his key items and his tracking, where are you going to go? Well, it might be
Mystery to
muted
all
for a
of
little
us.
bit. We'll catch up with him later.
I did mute. So I have to go get something for free because I'm pretty sure progression lies through there.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Right. So right. So Judge Joe has the hook now. They both have the hook. What are you gonna do, Joe? What's your one of your hallmarks as a player is your aggressiveness. So what's your plan?
Well, depends on what my next spell is, but pretty decent chance, and depends on who the hook route boss is, but I'm likely going to just go for it. With Fu, with Palm, with an anchor, most bosses are doable, so just use the power and push it.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
seems about right.
So fun story. Swag rocks aren't always for swag.
Sometimes they can be of use. It is always enjoyable to throw a bunch of rocks at CPU. Or things like CPU.
Or things not like CPU, realistically. Like sometimes it's actually very funny. Sometimes in seeds, and we saw this in the async for the first flag set we had, Tela casting Meteor was the strongest possible thing you could do.
That allied, yeah.
and so sometimes like Tela Meteor is your best bet. In this case, Fu Meteor also pretty good.
See, now I have
Yep.
a anchor here too.
Well, time to check. See what's at the hook route shops. I don't have as much. I haven't looted as much as I might normally because the Fu was at the start as opposed to a little later on, so that can mean little less money overall available to me, which can make buying stuff like elixirs a little more of a thought rather than a guarantee.
Yeah, that is something that's sort of unfortunate with a Fu start, is that we're not looting anymore. So at some point you need to, make a decision about, okay, maybe I will open some chests here.
Yeah, that's it's tricky because it's just like, how much money do you really want? And it's like, eventually you do want some gear. So defense is nice. Having no armor or leather armor doesn't really hold off too well, even with blinks.
Yeah, I have yet to change equipment on my mages. That'll be interesting later on.
All right, we'll have a little bit of fun. What do I have here? Could do rocks.
You could do rocks. That's always an option, I think.
What's this? King, Queen, Evelyn.
So we have Joe going down the hook route. Presumably that's what he decided to
Yep.
follow through doing.
I just found out who the boss is.
Oh,
That
we missed it. So we'll find out in about 3 minutes, I think.
got it. It's interesting.
Meanwhile, we see Fiery wrapping up some of the overworld checks and making food just a little bit more powerful. Every boss, especially once you get closer to the end of his spell list, gets him that much closer to things like Nuke and Quake. Quake is always good because especially for these bosses, things like CPU that cast Reflect, Baigen cast Reflect, bosses that have multiple targets, Quake is just really, really good. So that's an interesting Eblin shop now that we've both seen it. We have sirens and elixirs. So that's a big question now is like, okay, do you just stock up on elixirs and go with Fu and Friends? Or do you decide to buy some sirens and then set up a grind?
Yes,
for
I
later?
had exactly 90,000 gold after selling a pile of stuff. And so I made a choice and I spent it on 3 elixirs.
Right. So Joe seems to be going for probably a Fu and Friends type strategy. Is that roughly the case?
That's depends on where the bosses are. If they show up later, I might pivot. But for now, my understanding is I think it's likely that I'll be leaning on Fu and Friends.
Makes sense. Whereas Fiery, you bought some sirens, right?
I bought 15 of them because I have money to sort of spend here, and I bought a couple elixirs. But for me, it's going to be dependent on how long does the seed really look like it's going to last, and how many bosses am I going to have left on the moon and giant, and also when am I going to get 10 key items?
Right. And so here, because you had the money, so just get some sirens. Make sure you have the option available.
Yes.
All right. So we know who the Rubicant boss is now on both sides. What's your plan, Judge Joe? You got CPU.
I have Medio and I have Virus is currently my plan. It's risky, but we'll see how this works out.
Yeah,
I think it'll get through.
I mean, you could do float strats and Quake around as well. That's going to be slower.
I don't have Quake.
Okay, well, I could do that.
And so this is where taking a couple extra bosses on the overworld might have given you more options, but also Medio is pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see how the fights work
the
out.
absolute one target you weren't supposed to hit.
Uh-oh.
My wall wearer.
Yes, Globe 199 is not reflectable, and so you can just have your wall user fall over. Fiery electing to go with Fire 3 strats on the Elements fight. Judge Joe tossed 2 viruses. I think it ended up about the same time.
Before I forget, I've been having this. Yeah, there are a couple of ways.
Things with 15 HP.
Okay, so we see fiery strategy here. Charges Medio with Fusoya. Looks like he's going to. That is didn't kill, but that's hilarious targeting. But looks like Medio, and then we'll try to get through
Yeah, this isn't
the
gonna
orb
work.
afterwards.
There were better ways to do this, but Yeah, also hit the Starveil Rower. That's unfortunate. Reason why that's unfortunate is because Fu has new. And so the idea there
neat.
was... This has got a lot worse.
I'm through.
Nice work. Was it double Medio or
2 Medios with some supplementary reflected viruses. It
Makes sense.
How do you have Nukon Fu?
Because I have 1800 HP. Yeah, that was incredibly unfortunate timing, or targeting
boss?
there.
That
So
what
that's gonna
boss am I
actually be a
missing?
reset. A bunch of them, I guess.
Yeah. Judge Joe has done slightly fewer overworld key item checks.
Oh, have to. Unless you went and did package, I
Nope.
can't.
I've not done that.
Because I thought I did hook route, or I thought I did both the full basic overworld, waterfall, and mist. I'm at 1700.
Did you do football?
Oh, if you're.
You did
yeah.
football. You had plague.
Oh well.
Oh well. So
Maybe
what
we'll
we've seen though is that depending on your boss strategy and a little bit of luck, it doesn't necessarily matter that your Fu has all spells available. In this situation, Judge Joe was able to get through with some Medios and then a little bit of other stuff. Fiery's got back through the Elements fight, going to set up a save, check out, sort of make sure that he doesn't have to do that again, and then have a second go at the CPU fight.
Second go at trying to get lucky at this.
So Judge Joe, where are you off to currently?
1700 HP guarantees you will be at 1900 by the end of Dwarf, plus Tella ensures warp glitch.
Yes, the warp glitch is on, and so the task at hand right now is to sort of figure out, it's 2 boss checks, so we can see sort of what's going on. Judge Joe has not done Zot, so doesn't know who the Golbez spot is. So it is actually 2 bosses worth of knowledge.
And one additional benefit is it will, I believe, well, I'll have to see, but I think it might be able to give a slingshot to Yang.
I think
get
Yang
him some levels.
starts
Starts at 10.
At 10.
So I should
and
be
if
at
he can-
15.
Yeah. I think with Virus on Palom and things like that, you're probably good.
Now, assuming the targeting isn't actually awful, Forum's buffering here, so we'll even see if a Globe 199 comes out. Okay, that is actually perfect.
And there's Nuke.
There we go. A little bit easier when you actually have someone buffering that queue.
Yeah, so here is a really good example of making sure that when a boss is RA1, they just take turns, especially when you're casting spells. Virus and Nuke are 0 delay spells, so they're pretty fast, but you still need to menu their spells. The idea behind what Fire was doing was to queue attacks with the 2 Porums in order to make sure that the pointer is stopping at them before going all the way back to CPU. Sometimes you hear this called clogging the queue. The ATB system is really more of a pointer loop. There's a menu queue, but that's about it. So really, it's like making sure the pointer doesn't keep going back to CPU and causing it to take turns. So that was really well executed by Fiery Blizzard.
Fortunately, I do need to get MP back, and I don't feel like using one of the ethers I bought, so good thing we have tents.
Yep, tents are good. Camping gear is always useful, especially on the moon when you don't have any free heals available. In this situation, could have taken an extra 20 seconds to, land at the to do at the thing that I'm forgetting, like the left half of the dwarf castle to get the freebie.
The dwarven toilet.
Yes, that's what I did.
But it is just faster to tent or cabin. Here we see, so Judge Joe's already seen this. We see that Dwarf 1 is Octomam. This spot is a little bit punchy, but once you hit it a couple times, it slows right down. Fiery, what the Dwarf 2 boss is. So did that influence your routing to come straight here, or were you looking for key items?
Key items at this point. I mean, if Tower were a boss, or Top of Tower was a boss, I'd probably go there before, but...
Right.
We do have Tower Key, so there's no wait for Tower Key before going to the objective there, but
the boss at the top of Tower wasn't important.
An objective, so that means there's only one boss and 2 key items in Tower, or 0 key items, or no bosses that are important.
I was hoping to get Palom up, but oh well. Not that that was gonna get Palom warp. So
no, this is throw a life potion at Tell and have him deal with it.
Yep.
Or have 4 MP on Fu.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I guess.
Look, I don't like seeing Fu outside of Fu Wario seeds, and that's an entirely different flag set.
Yeah, so the the points of this flag set, which I think some of us were a little bit confused about, but turns out it's fine. The points of this flag set are figure out how to beat some awful bosses with mages and only mages, and then also figure out how to leverage Fu in the appropriate context, and to sort of see why Fu is kind of banned sometimes. In this situation, we've only had 1 Fu. In the async, we had 2. So, oh well.
Oh, I don't have enough gold for the inn.
Oh no, are you trying to stay at the Marriott in Faymarch, Judge Joe?
Open a chest.
Yes.
Oh no.
I'll sell what I got from the Warriors.
Makes sense. So this is really interesting. We picked up the Darkness Crystal from Dwarf Castle. So the world is really our oyster, or our source of boss hunt pearls. I don't know. we have all sorts of options for our boss hunts. It's not surprising that both of our runners have gone to Feymarch to try to peek the two bosses that are down here. They're not necessarily free, but with RA1 Fu, you can do a little bit at least. And of course, there's also a key item down here.
It's doable.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that there isn't a
Alrighty.
Valvalis here. But
Time to do the one on the left. Oh. And probably the one on the right.
Uh-oh. Fire is about to show us what those bosses are, I think. So it won't be
too long.
too long. Question from chat. The bosses right now, the objectives are correct as far as we're aware.
Yep. This flag set is static boss hunts.
But in particular, Judge Joe has 2 objectives currently.
That's actually doable.
Yeah, this full place is doable. Thanks, Yang.
Yeah. Don't even know if I need Young for this. Let's try it.
Are you looking at left or right?
I'm looking at right.
Okay, I was looking at left, or just did left. I am quickly running out of my elixirs.
So this set of bosses is very funny. Both spots are very fast. Both spots hit very hard. Leviathan spot harder than the Ashura spot, which is where Evil Wall is. So Evil Wall is going to punch you and punch you very hard, repeatedly, and also sort of cheat the ATB and pointers a little bit. The DKC is going to AoE your party for thousands of damage.
Yep.
So
12 to 13 is, I think, what you'll be seeing.
Yeah. So at this point, there's a little bit of a question. Do you sit here and try to do it now? Do you come back later knowing that you do have 2 bosses and you have the pass? So it's possible that maybe you go other places and then you come back. Looks like both of our runners are going to try doing some of the bosses now.
So it's interesting because I'm not actually in any danger on this wall. Fu has a ribbon and has a crystal ring and a white shirt, so
I think I know what key item I'm missing. I have 0 gear on Fu. But I have a blink caster.
Yeah,
I had a blink caster.
had a blink caster until the blink caster got hit for 3 times her max. Okay, not 3 times, but eventually.
Only 1.5 actually.
I expected 1300, but I guess that Porum had the glass hat heroin on.
No, Porum is actually, or Palom is the one that had the glass hat on. Where are you? So I've done 17,000 damage. Evil Wall here is 23,000.
So all we need to do is get
Lucky.
some MP back and then toss a nuke and try not to get high rolled.
Pretty much.
And also menu the correct spell.
And there we go.
Nice. Good work. And here, one of the things to keep in mind is, okay, maybe the fight was a little bit slow, but it was also safe and it got the objective done. And part of what's really interesting here is that Fiery really leveraged the gear he had, right? There was gear, and now you can take the fight and just make it happen. Joe, how are you doing with the Feymarch bosses?
The DKC was free with this party. Had to take a reset on the at least first go of things on the evil wall.
I'm gonna
I
try
still-
something that I don't think will work, but I'm curious to find out.
Oh, wait, I need the Charm Claw for agility.
In fact, I am very certain it's not gonna work.
I also don't think this is going to work, but I think it'll be interesting to see you try. It'll be a learning experience. Agreed, Sheep. This is Edward's dream Feymarch.
Nope. That's fine. It's not going to take long to get back there anyways. To your point, we do have a pass.
Oh, that's a good first target, hitting the Anchor Porum.
Yeah, I don't hate this fade. DKC at Leviathan is one of these bosses that if you can't, like if your party is not set up for it, it's kind of a pain in the butt. With some levels, this spot becomes quite doable, but not right now.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about fading that or ditching that Yang, which would make DKC perfectly doable, but
Yes. Having not done Zot, which I assume is from the rat tail that I forgot to turn in. He had enough HP which allowed me to do the DKC. But I have a Zerk Yang punching for about 100 to 700 damage, and I have a full party of linked characters, so the evil wall is now in hand.
There you go. So this is using the other tools in terms of party composition that Joe happens to have. So again, when you look at your party composition, you leverage the tools that you have. And so in this case, Judge Joe happened to have didn't have the freebie gear, but did have a Zerker. Punch Mage is pretty good.
Bacchus, his damage is honestly, he only has a Charm Claw and a headband equipped at the moment. So, but he gets me a bit more actions, which allows me to sort of tank up the fight and get to the crush phase, at which point the evil wall stops cheating with its agility and can then just be turned into throwing life potions throughout the party.
Yeah, so once you're in crush phase, all of a sudden now you can, like it's taking turns at a normal rate, and so you can actually get your life potion roulette going.
Actually, I'll take that. I will take any mage gear.
Yeah, mage gear is good. Helps our black magic casters.
Like I said, we're on restream, so I'll do a little bit of something that I don't think is a terribly good idea, especially with knowing that that we have the DKC in hand, and we're only looking for 2 bosses. I don't think there's any actual reason you would ever go and do this.
Right. So what Fiery is talking about is the Twin Harp check. We know, so Fiery has 4 objectives. We know where the 5th objective is, DKC, and we have the Darkness Crystal. So really you're looking for 2 more bosses. Where are those bosses? Who knows? But the giant gates, I think it's 8 total bosses, and so it's pretty likely that among the bosses you have left, you'll see 2 of them there. It's not guaranteed, of course. One could be at the Tower Key, one could
I didn't
be
check.
at package or something like that. So you have to do a calculation, and I know some people say, well, just go ask the math people and they'll figure out the calculation, but really the long and short of it is that you kind of want to play density as soon as you're comfortable taking on the sort of job of face checking.
Yeah, this, like I said, this in a tournament race, probably not to play. Fu and Friends would have been sort of the way to go at this point. Just the number of bosses we have access to. We're only missing Sealed Cave and the Baron, and we know that the first spot in Baron isn't a boss that's required, I think.
Yeah, on my end, having not turned in the rat tail yet, I'll be getting to that when I'm head back above ground. I'm missing a couple more, but...
So I haven't seen the boss yet, Joe, but you should do harp and Xenoblade music.
Enough reason for me. I mean, I don't have harp, but...
So I think the 2 weeks ago we talked through music. So I think that's going to be the hallmark of this restream, is that we're just going to talk through music.
Cool.
So this is a boss.
So my second try was successful on the evil wall. It didn't hit crush phase. Some nukes, some viruses, Yang's damage eventually whittled away to get through. But just to update on where I'm at.
Oh, I did not expect Fu to be able to survive a glare. Spoiler alert.
There's multiple bosses that glare that we've seen one of.
Yeah, I don't think Fiery is talking about Calbrenna glare or whatever.
Isn't that glance?
Is the big doll
the
has a
counter.
fire counter, right?
I don't even know when I saved. We'll figure it out.
Too many X-Cows.
Uh-oh.
Wait, how am I at?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I'm confused about my item tracker. Huh.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 missing bosses, even with a pass, is a hair much for me. I like going towards about 5, or 4 or 5 is around the number. It's even more if I include the giant in that count. So that's what that means. Is I'm probably going to be doing Zot and lower Babel checks. Oh, fine. I'll keep the charm rod.
I have the exact same thing.
I have no gear equipped on Fu.
Well, you had the Lilith rod.
Yes.
I have yet to change his gear.
There you go.
I was tempted to reset on that charm. I'm like, I don't want to put this on Helm at some point. Because I clearly didn't shop in the underground for Sork robes or anything.
I checked the item shops and found Bacchus in one of them, but other than that, I have done less shopping. But hopefully the treasury has some gear for my party.
I think you'll be happy about the treasury.
Happier if I had it earlier.
That is true.
That is a true statement.
Because I would not be needing to go back and buy elixirs, because I would have had about 300,000 money for elixirs.
Yeah, the defense sword Masa combo is pretty good.
I also have a couple X-Cows to sell now.
Also, the crystal ring is really nice because if you don't give it to someone else, the crystal ring going on to Fu means that any base level mage becomes an anchor that lets Fu be RA1. So it sort of makes the anchor setup a lot easier.
Yep.
It's a lot more forgiving.
This is interesting.
I should check my MP before I go to the first boss. I still have 1 elixir. Might have tents or cabins, but I want to currently, for as long as I can, keep my anchor down. Just, yes, I can swap it in the new characters. Unless it's 2 more foos, I'll be fine. But why swap if you don't have to?
So I'm running into a little bit of a problem, and that is the, I think I have 1 star veil left at this point, because I think we only started with 2.
We started with 3, but I had
one.
to use 2 on CPU.
Ah, yes, that's where I lost a couple. So, turns out you can just get lucky and find the shop that has star veils.
When in doubt,
Neat.
get lucky. It's a pretty good strategy if you can pull it off. But the important part though is that looking at the bosses that we have left, like we haven't seen Ogopogo, we haven't seen Valvalis, okay, fine. Haven't seen the Magus Sisters, but a lot of the bosses we've fought have wall counters, or they cast wall, or they do a number of things that really what you'd want to do is put up a veil and then bounce spells, and that dodges a lot of problems. Here, if you could just stock up on your veils, then everything goes a lot more smoothly. Judge Joe has found the
It's an
fight.
objective.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
F in chat for Porum. We salute you, I guess.
Oh no. Hey, more Porum. So if I get a key item from here, that would put me at 9. There is a consideration, and I would not be surprised to find multiple runners go for it. If you hit 10 key items, especially with a couple mages, if we get a black mage, say, from the darkness crystal, slingshotting a couple just 3x3 D machine at 10 key items is not that slow, and it will heavily increase your power for the rest of the seed if you're worried about those bosses.
That is definitely true and a possibility.
It is a possibility. One thing to sort of think about, especially since we're almost an hour into the seed, and we got many of our objectives done. One thing we want to do is sort of decide, well, how are we going to beat Zeromus? Are you going to do Fu and Friends? Are you going to just say, heck it, I'm going to grind? What's the plan? And a lot of the time, you can run a calculation, sort of estimate how much time it's going to take. Sometimes doing Fu and Friends versus actually finishing up a grind with 10 key items is actually pretty, close in terms of time, especially if you have sirens. Doing the D machine is a little bit possibly less. Well, if you end up at the giant for some reason, then maybe it's not so slow. Or you could just do moon bosses.
I'm having fun.
Having finally done Zot a little behind. Oh, yeah. I forgot. there's no black chocobo in that forest if you haven't raised the lunar whale.
Yep. So this is sort of a niche technique that sometimes you don't remember to think about if you've never done it before. But there's a black chocobo in the barren chocobo forest, but only after you raise the whale. So that sort of helps you get back to Troya area if you do Zot and then get the twin harp and then have to go back. It's a little bit more useful if you have the I guess if you have the whale and you're trying to save the time on going into the whale and then flying and then going out of the whale and etc.
The nice thing is the chocobo returns to wherever you got him from, so it's a way to just head back to Baron rather than to Troya if you get, say, the Baron key, for example. I don't think it's too much slower flight time on the return, so since I think Baron might be a little closer to Mysidia, if you're heading back there to get, say, back to the moon, that would be a method. Where is it?
So much HP.
Yeah, so this boss that Fiery is fighting has lots of HP, but is almost through. Again, swag rocks, not so swag, actually useful. And again, leveraging the tools that he has.
Not what I was hoping for.
Very funny reward.
So, Joe, question for you.
Yes.
How many boss hunt seeds have we had that have ended at Crystal Sword Altar?
A lot.
Okay.
Uh-oh. That sounds like Inside Out is the play.
It has happened a number of times that is way too many to count for how often it should happen. Also, I'd like to point out, actually equipping your charm rods are useful.
Yeah, actually having your 2 extra multipliers on your spells, very helpful.
And despite having magic defense, quad effective Ice 3 still does a lot to Ruby.
Yeah, so the way damage works in this game is you do all your calculations on your attack power and then you subtract defense. Magic defense and physical or magical, it's the same thing. So magic defense caps out at 255. In this situation, quad effective Ice 3 is like over 1,000 spell power, so you're getting all sorts of damage.
So, finishing up Twin Harp, I'm at 5 objectives. Still missing... I don't really want to do the package, so if I do that, and I don't want to do the giant, so that's 3, two more from Baron and 1 more from Luca. It pushes me to do what is kind of the last Earth boss check I want to do in checking at least lower the tower key. I might decide to take the top of tower where I'm there. That remains to be seen.
And this is a free boss just because of the gear that we have, so... Courtesy of that white shirt.
White shirt is a very good piece of gear.
Good defense, 15 will, undead resist. What's not to like?
no wisdom multiplier, like wisdom bonuses, I guess, but you're splitting straws at that point.
There we go.
It lived.
A very funny picture on screen, actually. But for Fiery, that is 10 key items now.
Mm-hmm. No hourglasses, though, because I didn't bother shopping, so... A little bit unfortunate. But at this point, I am thinking I am just gonna go and try to find one last boss. I'm not gonna bother fighting any more bosses that aren't one of the ones that I need.
Right, so at this point, you're sort of deciding, okay, I got my 10 key items. I am one boss spot away from being in go mode, because you know you can go do DKC whenever you want, mostly. So what's your plan for Zeromus at this point?
My plan at this point is I'm carrying so many mages that doing Fu and Friends with 4 other characters that don't have 1200 HP is a little bit cumbersome. So, I might just end up trying to do nearly a 0 Big Bang Zeromus fight and just take a little bit of time to get everyone to nuke and white.
Right, so doing a full grind on some set of things. You have sirens, so you could do eggs. You could do, especially because you have the pass.
It will be eggs for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean I have to go back down for that DKC. So, the gold dragons with no hourglasses is a little bit of a pain. Could set up a double life glitch, but
no hourglasses for King Ryu's is really, like, unless everyone has a crystal ring, it's not really a super great setup.
What's gonna be interesting is if the boss I run into is Valvalis.
Yep.
I have a Yang with a Charm Claw.
So that's something we haven't quite talked about. Ogopogo, doable with Veils and Cure 4 and things like that, and Nuke. Like, all the bosses we've seen are fine. Valvalis is not fine. Valvalis on the moon has max MDef, which means... So Valvalis on the moon has max MDef. So I said earlier that the maximum M defense is 255. That's true. I was a little bit lying when I said that you can still hit your spells, because 255 M def, the game sort of sees that and says, okay, you cannot hit anything you cannot hit that boss with magic. And so in this situation, if Val actually has 255 M def, then you cannot hit her with anything. So your only option is to use physical attacks. Rubicant at the Cave Magnus spot only had 254 M def, and so you could still blast through with your tier 3 ice spells. So if you're going to try and beat Valvalis at, on the moon or at a spot where you can't do any sort of magical damage to her, well, you're going to want to Zerk, and you're going to want to sort of try to stave off, petrify, stave off any big hits from physicals, and things like that. Sort of just trying to make sure that you can stay alive and continue to do damage. Fiery, you might be there for a while.
But he has a way of doing damage.
Yeah, it is true.
We've dealt with worse. Well, actually, we've dealt with this exact same thing, so you know.
Yeah, so last club season, we there was a hero's journey seed where we had 5 Rydias, and Valvalis was at the crystal sword altar, and then the next time we ran this seed, we had 5 Rydia or 5 Palams, and Valvalis was at the Masa altar, so that was also great.
Actually, yeah, no, So, I am in a little bit of an interesting situation because I have yet to raise the lunar whale yet. It depending on who this is, it gives me kind of a question of, do I wish to check the package boss? For me, the odds of the package boss being there are very, very low. And so, with only one boss spot missing on my end, I just don't think it's at the package, which means even though I have the chance of skipping raising the lunar whale, I feel like I have to do that to start checking the moon.
I shall not metagame.
Yeah, so of course our viewers at home can see what's happening. Because we are sort of running, it is quotes a race, but it's also sort of a showcase. I've sort of been trying to avoid spoilers, but there are sort of things you can choose to do or choose to avoid metagaming or things like that. We're just doing our best and having fun. Spoilers will happen, but that was such an awful roll. Oh my god. Sorry.
Oh, it gets better.
It gets better. Oh no. So yeah, we're just
I'm worried about what's in store for me.
Well, keep worrying. It'll be good for you. Oh, Joe has so much money. Oh my god. He can buy all the elixirs.
That's the treasury.
Yeah, it is.
Oh wait, did I sell my cows?
Did I sell my skills?
Who needs Cure 4 when you have elixirs? Well, so this is technically true, except Cure 4 can be multi-targeted.
Unfortunately, Edward's heal is AoE Cure 1 with Cure 1s in the inventory.
Yeah,
you cannot use...
What about Rosa's Prey?
I feel like that's better in DS, to my knowledge. Does it work? I've yet to see it work when I miss menu and use Prey.
I've had it work once, I think.
It can work. Just need to get lucky. All right, I guess while we're here, I probably should. It's been almost 75 minutes. Let's remind our folks at home who the Restream team is and shout out some of the folks behind the scenes. So thanks to Aaron Lore for doing the Restream and Scarcer for doing tracking for us. Tracking this seed has been particularly interesting because of some technical difficulties, but we're pushing through. Everyone's doing a great job. Also, good call out in chat. we're showing you something that's intended to get you a little bit of an idea of like certain strategies you can pull off, things you can try to do, and ways you can try and get better at free enterprise, in particular to try to improve your potential for entering a tournament, and where do all of the things about free enterprise happen except for the seed generation. You can hang out at our Discord, which the link for which you can see in chat. Also, shout outs to Joe and Fiery for hanging out, playing through the seed, seeing some of the memes that we have.
Awesome.
I just realized I went that entire time without Fu at max HP.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like just
I was like,
completely
wait, what?
ignored him. I mean, that is the power of Blink. So as a reminder, Blink just makes bosses miss you. You just can't get hit by a physical attack. Blink is very, very good. That's why Tella happens to have so much utility, because he starts with Blink. That's not his only utility, but especially in the early game and for things like bad hook routes, which we didn't really even talk about. The hook route was forced on this flag set. So here, we had to do the hook route, but even with Fu, right? Blink is always kind of helpful. Tella also has heal. Heal, especially on Valvalis, is a very good spell because it helps you not get petrified. GG, Fiery. I wasn't paying attention on when you started that fight, but you got through it.
It was a time. Great. Perfect reward. Let's go.
Amazing.
Oh,
Just what I needed.
okay.
I mean, it was a safe fight, so... it's interesting, though, because taking that fight basically said, in my mind, saying, wherever the other boss is going to be worse or I can't get to it, right? Because it would be significantly faster if the other boss was also in the same area. I was just like, I don't really want to... I'll bet on, behind Giant Gauntlet or something.
Wait, that's what's that giant one?
I have no idea. Let me know.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Unfortunately, the Ogopogo was not at Giant 1 like the async.
Oh, sorry, it was at the Super Cannon. My bad.
It was not.
Well, was also not there, but it was found by Judge Joe.
Huh. Neat.
But that said, Fiery looks like is setting up for a Siren grind, with 10 key items, all sorts of experience available. Probably needs about 10 or 11 of them to get Rydia to nuke. Has 15, so that's plenty. Just going to set up Palom with probably... Gonna try Palom with Virus. Hopefully bad things don't happen.
Oh, I have more Star Veils. Did you try sorting your inventory? Because apparently we started with 6 Star Veils.
Neat.
I did not know that. That helps.
So, in the race room, we were joking about a good question being, what are the flags? So this is, I guess, a good opportunity to remind folks to read the flags. Step 1 when you load up a seed is to read the flags and see what you are looking for. In particular, the starting kits for this flag set are, I think they're
2 better or something like that, because I know I had 2 sets of life potions.
Yeah, so it is the basic kit, which has life potions, cure 2s, tents, and a couple veils, and the Freedom Kit, which has, again, life potions, star veils, and I think Thor rages. And I think you also get
one or two sirens.
Yeah. And so from here, you sometimes, like, I've taken to not throwing, not sorting my inventory sometimes, because sometimes I want to keep my inventory in a particular state. But it definitely does help you avoid somehow losing some of the veils that you didn't think you had.
I just bought more anyways.
For folks looking at chat, yeah, I think the flags there are kind of awkward. I will post the correct flags. Aaron Lore has posted the correct flags. Thank you. All right, so Judge Joe, straight to Zeromus. I sort of skipped the whole build up. So something but something. Zeromus looks different than the vanilla sprite. So I guess we'll see whose butt are we gonna kick tonight.
Theatricalness, maybe?
Oh, that would be great.
That would be, yes.
Does that mean then we also have to load up the rhythm and play the final fight as well? Did it earlier, we could do it again.
That is true.
Oh.
Anyway, so we see the Gur-Urg. Who do we got? Oh, that's very cute. This is a very good sprite. Shoutouts to El Magus. That's what I'll say.
I wish I had more functional gear than just a charm rod and a Stardust rod.
Fair. You have defensive gear with a ribbon and a crystal ring.
I also have a bunch of gear for this Porum. So you found Nope Noodle, I found Val. I'm guessing is our differences here.
That is the difference, yeah.
Would you like to take a guess of where Val Valis was hanging out this time?
Ribbon.
Nope.
Light.
Nope.
Crystal.
Yep.
Good job, Palom. You tanked. Way to go, kid. So at this point in the fight, Judge Joe is using Yang as the reflect anchor and item thrower. Fu is casting nukes, and Palom is casting virus because even though Fire 3 would probably be stronger, it's very slow. It has a very high delay. And so Palom is just going to DPS with virus. There is a problem here, though. Yang needs to make sure... Yang's second job is to make sure that the Big Bang is nerfed. Goodbye, Palom.
Rip Palom.
Big Bang did look nerfed, which is good. Should be, yep, max 928. Fu took 2 rolls. Very cool.
Was Cyclopuga really a package?
No.
Okay.
Nah. I think at this point it would not be faster for you to find Ogopogo. So
No,
I can
I'm
tell
taking this DKC anyways.
So Ogopogo was on the Baron Throne in the Kainatsu spot. Some Baron Key was like, I think it was Super Cannon.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's significantly faster than having a Heroine Robe Sammy Mute Arrow Porum go through Valvalis like Crystal Sword.
All right, Fu. Show me your stuff.
This grind will take less time than that Valvalis fight.
Nah.
Fu did not show me his stuff.
Uh-oh.
It's fine.
I mean, this is also showing off how slow it is to actually grind versus doing Fu and Friends.
This
So-
isn't the proper Fu and Friends, but it's like Fu Wario style.
Okay. Yeah, but at least in Fu Warrior, you generally have like 15 adamants.
So I guess the thing to keep in mind here is that your, like, depending on your party setup and your specific tools that you have available, it's possible that doing something like what Judge Joe is doing, this sort of like have a melee tank and chemist with Fu slinging the 6k nukes and doing reflex strats this way is slow. It's slow, but and it's kind of tough. But if you can do it, then you can skip a grind. Meanwhile, grinding is, again, a little bit slow, but it's entirely safe. You're going to get to 4 big tier spells, and then you can zoom through the Zeromus fight in less than 3 minutes. So whether or not you're comfortable with that, well, it's something you can practice in order to either get comfortable or sort of decide that's something you want to practice, so that if it happens to be important, then you can do it in the seed. I do think it's kind of funny. Fire is going way overboard.
Oh god, I was not paying attention.
So this is
That was
something
what
that
I
also
was-
happens sometimes.
Especially when you're also doing a voice call at the same time. Like, I was like, how is Rydia not learning Nuke yet?
Yeah, so we are not on J spells, which is what you would have needed to have.
The 55 level 55 Rydia that I now have.
Yes, so there was a little bit overdone, but definitely you could just throw nukes at DKC and that would be fine. I'd suggest maybe not doing that, but anyway.
Yeah, because I can't. I would love to throw Meteos, actually.
Nah, you would die very
I would
quickly.
die, yeah. Unfortunate. I also have this apple. We can. I don't know what I want to do with that apple. So at this point, like, obviously DKC is completely trivial. So
Yeah, far more, like, more than enough HP to tank a wave, and then Porm can cast Cure 4. Even party wide would be fine. So it's up to you. You don't need the levels, so it's just however you want to manage this fight is up to is up to you, and is fine. Looks like our restreamer has said that Judge Joe has finished the seed, so that was a successful.
Zeromus
like
fight that you could.
successful Zeromus fight. So GG's.
GG's.
How do you feel?
Though I am always glad when Fey March is required.
Yeah, hard Baymarch is kind of fun. Tell us a little bit more about the Zeromus fight. So, like, when it was sort of getting near the end, like, were you just trying to, like, keep it safe?
Yeah, pretty safe. So like Eddie strats or 1200 strats, once you've done enough Zeromus, you kind of start to get into the rhythm of the fight. The two-person solo nuke strat that I was doing, where you have someone who's guaranteed to be able to just keep the HP a lot up. Basically, Zeromus is going to be going black hole after every big bang, so he'll go. You get the first one, nothing. Second one, he'll do a black hole. Third one, he'll do a virus, then a black hole. And so, as long as that gives you plenty of time to use elixirs, which I bought like 12 of, and used like 8 of them in the fight. But you use those to keep your MP up, keep your HP up. I was doing Cure 4s every time Black Hole was showing up because that's when Fu's turn was showing up. And then just put up a Veil and throw Nuke, throw an Elixir with Yang's turn to keep the actions going around. Once you see Zeromus shake, if you're on Fu's turn, you can go and reflect one more nuke if you're fully anchored, and then just go and throw the crystal with Yang. Fu's nuke does the first one, it gets you to the point where you can actually nerf it, and then with the Star Veil, Yang is guaranteed to survive. He won't take damage from a virus. If Fu dies, he's ready to. He'll have time to throw a life potion if needed, and then you just heal up and continue going. Once I ran out of Star Veils, which I didn't actually in the fight, I would have had to pivot to casting Wall with Fu as an action and just slow down a little.
Yeah, you never want to cast Wall. That's always kind of a sketchy situation. Especially when Veils
every wall
are
you
available.
cast is a nuke that wasn't cast.
Yep, exactly. And so that's another. So you're like 6k damage behind.
So
Anyway.
a good lesson to have, because I do this way too often. If you lower your battle speed, you might want to raise it at some point. Possibly. Because I said it.
What is your battle?
I set it to 3 for Maga Sisters, and I never changed it after.
Oh no, you were on 3 for Val?
I was on 3 for Val, and I was on 3 for the grind.
The entire grind. Oh no.
Yeah.
It happens.
I mean, 3 is comfy for mages, but makes sense.
I did not need 3 for Val.
No. 3 for Val was a little bit
Val was not mages. Val was
That was a Heroin Road Forum.
All right, so we saw part of anyway a sort of modified Fuin tank strat from Judge Joe. Now we're gonna see what happens after you've got a fully geared up party of 4 mages who can all cast their big spells. So Fiery is going to be trying to implement a 0 Big Bang fight.
Not gonna happen. I'm really good at 0 Big Bangs for RA1. I generally will do it at RA, like move at 28 agility anchor, and then do RA2 Zeromus.
So, okay, so maybe this isn't gonna happen.
No.
Unfortunately.
Not with no gear. Like, that's part of the issue.
That's true.
Yeah, you have 3 nuke casters who need the gear. 2 of which who need the gear.
Yeah, Palom has a really high base wisdom stat, so he can, like, with levels, he can kind of just not equip anything. But Rydia and Fusoya's wisdom, like, they kind of lag behind Palom. So they benefit a lot from things like Stardust Rods, even Sork Robes, Charm Rods. Every little bit counts for them. Rydia's Tiara is the best possible thing that she can equip.
I am pretty sure
And wisdom is a lot.
Rydia currently has a samurai bow with no arrows equipped on the wrong hand. So still better than Fu. which is why I have Fu in slot 2, doing the Star of Veil and then doing the Silk Web. Because one of the things you do want to do on Reflex strats is slow down Zeromus.
So I guess one thing I've sort of taken to, right, you've got your White Mage in slot 3, because if you charge White, then you're going to guarantee that you're not wasting spells, because the pointer comes back around to Zeromus and sort of lets him become vulnerable before you start blasting him with Nuke. I guess I'm surprised why you didn't use Tella to throw the Silk Web.
Please turn came up first.
That's fair.
Yeah, I've tried to do like the 7th character of the rotation, throw a Silk Web, and sometimes it works out, and I've had other times where I've just been sloppy enough in the menu where it has not turned out well. So
that's fair. GG's, by the way. Nice job.
There's also the, even though I have no gear, Tella was there to just throw an elixir if someone else got hit, and he was able to get something off.
Right, that is true. Having your anchor, because Tella is sort of not contributing to the damage, he can help when his turn comes around by making sure that the other characters can contribute to damage. So that was a good fight. Very clean. That's just an example of how reflex strats go pretty well once you've got them set up. Sometimes the grind takes you a little bit to get there, but otherwise it's pretty smooth sailing at that point.
It takes
especially
even longer
with 3 new casters.
It takes even longer when you realize that you didn't realize you already learned Nuke and you were just not paying attention.
Yeah, that is true. I think maybe that was a couple minutes, but
and you're on battle speed 3.
Yes. So things to remember. And this is something that I think some newer players do this. But like also some experienced players do this. Like I'll buy sirens, and then I get to the end of the seed and I still have 13 sirens in my pocket. Right. So sometimes keeping in mind how much you think you're going to need in terms of experience later on, when you're buying the sirens is often a reasonable thing to think about. Anyway, so with that said, maybe I'll give each of you one more chance to sort of say something that you think is important about this seed, and then we'll go into an outro. So Judge Joe, do you have any last thoughts about these flag sets, or what runners could do to improve their skills? I say as I observe that Judge Joe maybe is muted for a reason. No, you're back. Okay.
So this flag set in particular, with the bosses, does attempt to showcase kind of more niche strategies, mainly with Reflex or Quakes, how they can bypass. But one thing that I think helps when you're trying to use mages mid-game, even if they're not the strongest, is kind of just getting a little bit of a feel for how the fights are going, how the enemies are moving, so that you're able to just kind of, you know, how much danger your party is going to be in, so you can learn if your mages need to be defensive and casting blinks, or if they can go all out at the start of a fight with Quakes or Berserks.
And Fiery?
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe sort of touched on it. I know his motto is very much, I have a blink caster, it's fine. Or I have 2 blink casters and it's really fine. And really, for a lot of even the tougher bosses for mages, I find that sort of true. I think anchoring is actually pretty important as well. Despite, I generally like to not even try to anchor and just go 28 agility at the end. But for the list of bosses that we had for this flag set, there are certain spots you absolutely want to be perfectly anchored for, or have a moon veil or something like that. Neither of the asyncs really had a terrible wyvern location. Val here was a little bit difficult, and async it was trivial. The Val chart in particular is nice, that Invent has, although I generally don't have that open, just tested Nuke. So for me, mages, it's a lot of fun. The Sea Relax is sort of throwing a wrench into how I normally play it because Fu is just so powerful. I saw 37 chests, and 18 of those came from the treasury, and that still felt like too much looting. But, leverage to power. Rydia is nice if you get a Bahamut orb, which is why I took Rydia at the end there. But, yeah, I mean, mages don't really need the gear. They just need the levels. And I think the Adamant Cup bracket seeds really touched on that, right? Where there was no back row glitch.
Yeah.
And almost every seed turned into a find your mages go D machine, just if you had even early darkness. Because you don't need gear. And the flag sets were very designed to not try to give you gear.
I guess one last thing is if your party is primarily mages, is to look at your party and kind of just try and take a status of like how many key items you are, how many checks you have, which checks are difficult, and just get a feel. Do you think you're going to get to 10 key items pretty easily or not? Because with the mages, if you think it's 10, that's where you can rely on, say, Palm's Quake or maybe Rydia Leviathan or some archery to push through that mid-game. But if you really are missing all the key items, aren't able to get them, aren't able to go to 10 key items, it just might be worth taking that grind sooner rather than later.
Grind early, grind often. I mean, there have been definitely asyncs where you enter the underground with like 2 key items for the hook route or something, and you find sirens, and honestly the best play is just to take 30 sirens and just blow up the seed.
Yeah, there's something to be said for levels solving a lot of problems. Especially with mages, levels do solve a lot of problems. But with that said, I think that brings us to the end of our evening. So thank you, Judge Show. Thank you, Fiery. I know it was a pretty interesting seed to see and lots of different strategies showcased, so I appreciate your efforts. Shout outs to Aaron Laura again for restreaming, Scarcer for tracking. I've been Scythe Marshall on commentary. Hopefully next 2 weeks from now, I don't need to do comms again, but we'll see. I guess I did want to shout out one more thing. If you were interested in finding out some more information about Free Enterprise, you can go to our wiki, or you can go check out our Discord. All sorts of information about the randomizer, about the vanilla game, things like that. And then I guess it's Saturday. Do we have a restream tomorrow? We don't. But I think our next restream on Free Enterprise is on Monday night. That's our community race. And then again, on the Discord and on the wiki, you can find out when else we'll have restreams for various community races and community clubs that we have going on this club season. For now, that's it for us.